Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today we will discuss about marriage age because it is different. Minimum age in India is different for men and women. So why is it different? We'll discuss that. Should it be different? We'll discuss about the opinions and the myths which are existing, the stereotypes which are existing in our society in detail. You can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook because I feel together we can make a huge difference. Now, what is the relevance of this topic in your exams, in your mains paper 1? It could be asked under social empowerment. At examination level, the debate over different ages of marriage, women-related issues, women empowerment, under these topics it could be covered. Now, in what context today we are studying this? See, this week the Delhi High Court, they took up a plea that sought a uniform age of marriage for both men and women. This bench issued a notice to the Centre also and the Law Commission of India also. They want to seek their response to this PIL, that is Public Interest Litigation. So here we'll start with Indian Majority Act 1875 because currently the law prescribes that the minimum age of marriage is 21 for boys and 18 for girls, right? Or you can say 21 for men and 18 for women. So the minimum age of marriage is distinct from the age of majority, which is gender neutral. An individual actually attains the age of majority at 18 as per the Indian Majority Act 1875. Now we will talk about the minimum age. See, this law prescribes a minimum age of marriage to essentially outlaw child marriages and prevent abuse of minors, because as you know about the traditional Hinduism, there were a lot of child marriages taking place earlier. So basically, to outlaw this thing, they have introduced the concept of minimum age for marriage. Now, personal laws of various religions that deal with marriage have their own standards and often reflecting customs, because you know in India there is no uniform law when religion comes to play. For Islam there are different laws, for Hinduism there are different laws. Now for talking about Hindu, section 5(3) of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, it sets 18 years as a minimum age for bride and 21 years of minimum age for the groom. Now, child marriages are actually not illegal in India, but they can be declared void if the minor request. So, this could be declared void at the request of the minor in the marriage. And talking about Islam, the marriage of a minor who has attained puberty, it is considered valid under the personal law. Now, the Special Marriage Act, which is 1954, and the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, that is 2006. It also prescribes 18 and 21 years as the minimum age of consent for marriage for both women and men respectively. Now we will talk about the evolution, that how it started, how it evolved over the period of time. So we'll talk about the IPC, Indian Penal Code, which enacted in 1860, criminalized any physical intercourse with a girl below the age of 10. So it started back in 1860. So this provision of rape was amended in 1927 also through the Age of Consent Bill 1927, which made marriages with a girl under 12 invalid. So if somebody marries a woman, not even a woman, she's a girl under 12 years of age, such a marriage will be considered invalid. Now, this law actually had faced opposition from conservative leaders of nationalist movement such as Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Madan Mohan Malviya, because they said they saw British intervention as an attack on Hindu customs. Then let's come straight forward to 1929. The Marriage Restraint Act, Child Marriage Restraint Act set 16 and 18 as the minimum age of marriage for women and men. So in 1929, it was 16 and 18. But you see a trend that for the women, it is always less than the men. Now, the law popularly known as Sarda Act After its sponsor Harbilas Sarda, so who was Harbilas Sarda? He was a judge and a member of Arya Samaj. He eventually amended in 1978 to prescribe 18 and 21 years as the age of marriage for women and a man respectively. Now today, why it is challenged in court? Because the petitioner in Delhi High Court case has challenged the law on the grounds of discrimination. He alleges that Articles 14 and Article 21 of the Constitution, so your Article 14 guarantees you the right to equality and Article 21 gives you right to live with dignity. So he's saying in this case it is being violated by having different legal age for men and women to marry. Now there are two Supreme Court rulings also which could be significant to the context of this argument. So we'll see the names there. So in 2014 there was a case. The name of the case was Nalsa versus Union of India. So here in this case, the Supreme Court, while recognizing transgenders as a third gender, they said that the justice is delivered with assumption that humans have equal value and therefore they should be treated as equal as well as equal by laws, as well as by equal laws also. And then there was another case in 2019. It was Joseph Shine versus Union of India. Joseph Shine versus Union of India. So here the Supreme Court decriminalized adultery. So tell me in the comment box what is adultery. So it has been decriminalized and said that a law that treats women differently based on gender stereotypes is an affront to women's dignity. So it was also struck down. Now there is the debate. The different legal standard for the age of men and women to marry has been a subject of debate, not today but it is there since long. So the laws are codification. So how we make laws to govern the people, and basically these laws are the codification of custom and religious practices. And in India we all know that these customs and religious practices are somewhere rooted around patriarchy. So in a consultation paper of reform in family law in 2018, the Law Commission argued that having different legal standards, it actually contributes to the stereotypes. Stereotype is that the wives must be younger than their husbands. Then there are other things also that people say women should be younger because she matures early, she has a greater intellectual level, so she should marry a man of greater age than hers. So women rights activists too have argued that the law perpetuates the stereotype that women are more mature than men of the same age and therefore they should be allowed to marry sooner. Now, International Treaty Committee on Elimination Discrimination Against Women, that is CEDAW, they also call for the abolition of such laws that assume women that they have a different physical or intellectual rate of growth than men. That is why these are the stereotypes which exist in our society, because when Priyanka Chopra, she married Nick Jonas, then we have seen all kind of trolls. So definitely a country like us where the stereotypes exist, trolling has to be done, right? So a law commission paper recommended that the minimum age of marriage for both genders should be set at 18. So this is what a law commission has recommended. But anything, you set up any age, whether it is 18, 19, 20, 21 or 30 or whatever, but it should be equal for both men and women, because difference in age for husband and wife has no basis in law, as spouses entering into the marriage are all or by all means equals. So they are equals, right? And their partnership must also be of that between equals. That is what the Law Commission has noted. Now, we have discussed about marriage, but here the topic comes under the ambit of women, women empowerment, because marriage is somewhere the latent liability for women. The discourse of even your economic development has become increasingly gendered. in recognition of both the ethical construct of equality between the men and women and the realization that women's empowerment generates positive externalities. Now, marriage is the biggest constraint because what has been observed declined in female LFP. LFP is your labor force participation, right? So this observed decline in female LFP has been the largest and most significant for the rural married women. And in urban areas, while there has been no decline in participation by married women over the time, the figure has been stagnating. And on the other hand, there has been no fall in the employment rate of men in the same demographic group. And there are few facts also which underline this thing. We already discussed the biggest trend, that is the marriage, and the other few facts which underline this phenomena are that in 2011 around 50% of unmarried women in 50 to 60 age brackets were in the labor force, while the proportion for married women in the same age bracket was 20%. And there has been a rise in the LFP rates among the urban unmarried women between, we see the data from 1999 to 2011. So 37% to 50% increase we see. But for married women, it has been stagnant for 30 years. And for married and unmarried men, the participation rates are high, around 95%. And they are constant over time. And then this marriage and child care are the only barrier for the women's progress economically also. Because with marriage almost being universal in India, the different trajectories that single and married women have followed clearly hint at marriage and consequent child care as one of the important barriers in access to employment, right? And against rapid increase in the number of years women get in education and the increase in age for marriage and reduction in fertility levels, these trends seem to contradictory to the trend of labor force participation in India, because there are two realities in India. So these realities you need to understand. That first, that there is a very small window. So which window here I am talking about, let me tell you. This is a small window of opportunity. How? Because to be economically active after completion of education and before marriage. So as soon as a woman completes its education, she has to get married. So this window between this period is very narrow. And now secondly, the marriage and expected childbearing. The window next window I am talking about here is with universal, that a woman got married and between the first child. So this window is very narrow again, and there is a little space between marriage and first child. So with the number of children born to a woman has come down, although this may not necessarily increase women's labor force attachment if households place greater importance on the quality of their progeny. And the third thing here is re-entry of women into the employment after maternity. Because if you see a close look at the participation numbers and such data, you will find that child care is clearly a constraint for married women and continues to remain a roadblock from the employment perspective. Although government is trying, there are Maternity Benefit Amendment Act and other things also, like Rajiv Gandhi National Creche Scheme, where for the children of working mothers, started up by government of low income families, but these has been marred by poor infrastructure and limited benefits to its flawed design. So now if we talk about way forward in such cases, so first aspect of the lecture what we discussed, marriage age. So we need to see what the court says, but whatever I will suggest, whatever the age they decide, it should be same for the men and women. And next, talking about these women empowerment issues, there is no silver bullet that works best in empowering women economically in our country, right? There is no silver bullet to it, but the heart of matter is to get more women to work, we have to get them out of their homes, and hence an exclusive focus on educating and skilling women or financial inclusiveness is unlikely to be effective unless policy measures address the constraints of childcare faced by married women. And with the patriarchal norms also, which are underlying the traditional role of men and women in households, and non-marketization of childcare coupled with shift towards nuclear families, the burden of domestic work lies totally on the woman. So at the same time, the absence of flexible work hours and easier physical access to work have been compounded by persistent gender gap in wages. So we need to find a way forward with these problems in order whenever we are talking about women empowerment issues, because this is how we can move forward by addressing these issues. So this is all about today's lecture. If you have any query, you can contact me. Thank you. So this is the channel StudyIQ. If you're preparing for UPSC or any government exam, our pen drive and tablet courses are available. If you're preparing for UPSC CSE 2020, our pen drive course is available where you can find 100% coverage of UPSC vast syllabus. Daily current affair updates will be available. Self-paced learning process is provided. This course has been prepared by top faculties of StudyIQ, and now you can purchase this course at Rs 625 per month only. For additional information, you can visit our site, and there are the phone numbers also given. You can call them and gain the additional information. You can connect with me for my video updates on Instagram and Facebook, because I feel together we can make a huge difference. For queries, you can even email me. Thank you so much.